But we start with the first day of confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson. The proceedings are historic. Jackson is the first Black woman to be nominated to the position and would become the first to serve on the nation's highest court if confirmed. During her opening remarks Monday, Jackson pledged to support and defend the Constitution. CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford has more from Washington.
Well, today we got a real preview from the senators on what kind of questions that we can expect to hear over the next couple days. And then we heard from the nominee. I mean, she talked about her life, her family, and she promised, if confirmed as a justice, she would be independent.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give before the committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Promising to carefully follow the law, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson told senators she would decide cases without fear or favor.
I have dedicated my career to ensuring that the words engraved on the front of the Supreme Court building, equal justice under law, are a reality and not just an ideal.
Surrounded by friends and family, Jackson thanked God and her parents who grew up in the segregated South.
My parents taught me that unlike the many barriers that they had had to face growing up, my path was clearer, so that if I worked hard and I believed in myself in America, I could do anything or be anything I wanted to be.
She also singled out her husband and 2 daughters.
Girls, I know it has not been easy as I've tried to navigate the challenges of juggling my career and motherhood. But I hope that you've seen that with hard work, determination, and love, it can be done.
The Harvard and Harvard Law School graduate and federal appeals court judge is now poised to be the first Black woman on the Supreme Court. And Democratic senators in their opening statements focused on history being made.
We're a living witness to the fact that in America, all is possible.
More people will believe that we can be the nation we say we are when we put our hand on our heart.
Previewing the upcoming 2 days of questioning, Republicans reference previous hearings
on disruption and disorder over procedural matters.
For conservative Supreme Court nominees.
Engaging in the politics of personal destruction is not something we should ever aspire to.
And vowed they would focus on her record.
It's going to be about your philosophy.
With some suggesting those showed an extreme liberal philosophy and soft on crime.
Prosecutors recommended 24 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 3 months in prison.
Jackson sat silently for more than 4 hours of the senator's opening statements before delivering her own.
If I am confirmed, I commit to you that I will work productively to support and defend the Constitution and this grand experiment of American democracy that has endured over these past 246 years.
And there was some other Supreme Court news today. Justice Clarence Thomas, who's the court's longest-serving justice, remains hospitalized tonight. He was admitted to the hospital on Friday night with flu-like symptoms. Doctors confirmed they were not COVID-related. Justice Thomas does not have COVID. He was being treated for an infection. He's expected to be released in the next day or two. And, of course, it's always concerning when a justice is hospitalized. Justice Thomas is 73 years old. But friends of his and people I've spoken with say that he is going to be fine. Nikki?
We do hope he's recovered and home soon. Jan Crawford, thank you. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane joins me now for more. Scott, thanks for joining us. Set the scene for us. It's such a big moment, a big day. What was the mood in the room during the first day of confirmation hearings?
Yeah, Nikki, here we are with our second COVID-era Supreme Court confirmation hearing, which means, once again, the public is not allowed into this complex. It's still closed to the public due to the pandemic. No doubt any number of people, any number of members of the public would have wanted to be here for this historic day. But what you could see, clear as day here in the room, was the beaming faces of Judge Jackson's family. Her husband, her children, her parents right behind her as she sat and listened. And this first day is always unique for a Supreme Court hearing, because if you are last in line to speak behind a bunch of senators, you're going to wait a while. The senators on the Senate Judiciary Committee, one at a time, gave lengthy, methodical opening statements. So Judge Jackson sat at that long wooden witness table for several hours without saying a word, awaiting her chance to speak. And she spoke briefly, giving her opening remarks. The mood here, even among those who may be voting against Judge Jackson, was clear. This was an historic day, and this will be, Nikki, a historic week.
Scott, can you elaborate a little bit more? You touched on the opening remarks. How did lawmakers react to Judge Jackson's opening statement?
Yeah, a few moments ago, I was speaking with senators outside the complex. One of those senators who's on this panel, Rhode Island Democrat Sheldon Whitehouse, says he thinks the judge is off to a very good start, acquitted herself very well during opening statements. We did hear before her remarks that Judge Jackson did particularly well during meetings, and that came from both parties. She met with dozens of senators ahead of today, and senators from the Republican Party and Democratic Party both said she did quite well there. Senator Padilla of California says it's clear she's ready to blaze a trail. The Republican, Senator Hawley from Missouri, who's on this panel, says she was gracious with her time and that the meetings went well. That said, this was the introductory day. This is the day that is traditionally the most cordial at a confirmation hearing because there were no questions, no back and forth. Nikki, that's what starts tomorrow, when every member of this panel gets 30 minutes to question the judge.
A big day tomorrow. What are some potential lines of questioning we could hear from GOP senators this week? What are their concerns?
Now, they're showing their cards already. Senator Hawley, for one, made pretty unambiguous. He's going to be asking her about her record as a federal defender and as a member of the U.S. Sentencing Commission in handling some criminal cases. He was focusing in on child exploitation cases, indicating during his opening statement that the outcomes when they went through Judge Jackson weren't as firm as he says they could be. The Democrats say there's a strong response to those accusations, and that will likely be made when the questioning begins tomorrow. Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina was pretty unequivocal today with his concern that it's the extremists, he says, or the most liberal who are pushing this nomination, and he has concerns about that. That's a forecast and a foreshadow of where the questions are going to go, but there's no indication from when we speak with staffers or from what we saw today that there's going to be any sparks or heat or any impediment to what should be a pretty smooth confirmation for the judge, because the Democrats all seem in line here, and that is all the judge needs.
So many of us will be watching. Scott, before I let you go, there was a bench trial in D.C. Monday for a January 6th defendant. You've been following this case so closely. What happened?
Just down the road in the courthouse where Judge Jackson used to preside, the D.C. federal courthouse, the second January 6th trial began. It's actually an elected official, Nikki, the county commissioner from Otero County, New Mexico, facing relatively lower-level charges, but taking a chance at trial. It's a bench trial, only the judge presiding. What we learned today was something about where Vice President Pence was on January 6th. According to testimony from the Secret Service at this trial, the vice president was evacuated to an underground loading dock area right here on the Senate side of the U.S. Capitol and spent several hours there. That's a revelation the prosecutors were trying to keep from coming out in court, but it very much did. Coy Griffin is the name of the commissioner. His second day of trial is tomorrow morning here in Washington, D.C. After the testimony today outside the courthouse, he says he's going to have a big victory tomorrow. We'll see.
Scott, no doubt you are very busy. Thank you so much for your time.